Today I would like to talk about how to master Google Ads for electricians. And so we'll jump right in. And what we'll cover today, we'll move this up here, it's just kind of the way, is that paid marketing and Google Ads specifically is kind of a critical lever for scaling your electrician practice or your electrician business. We'll just kind of go through some of the strategies, how to set things up, and key KPIs and things that you should track and be aware of as you try to run campaigns like this. And, I've been doing digital marketing for a long time. I've owned an agency since 2011. We've worked all over the place for years, and we know what we're doing. We've got some great client testimonials, reviews. I'll skip all that and just get into it. So when we talk about digital marketing, it's really just part of an accelerated growth model. And what that entails is, first of all, you have to drive leads. So if you're going to get customers, they have to call you, right? Or however they reach out to you. And then part of that process is evaluating how well they convert. So some percentage, some channels will do better than other, but some amount of your leads convert into customers. And you want to maximize that amount. And then the third part of it is optimizing these results. So which channels get the best results? Maybe have a lower conversion rate, but a higher, revenue per customer, or however you want to measure these things. And so you take all of that data and you feed it back into your lead generating processes, investing more and less in different places depending on what the data is showing you. And then this process continues on and on. And so this is what we talk about on these calls. And specifically today, we're going to talk about driving leads, and we're going to talk about paid leads and paid traffic. And this is all part of the digital dominance method, which really just means competing online is essential to growing your business. And there's all kinds of facets to it, and you can't leave any of them behind, but you also can't build them all at once. So you have to kind of pick and choose where to focus. You want to get to all of these things, but figure out what you're missing, work on that. And one thing that's updated for 2025 is we're going to be talking a lot more about AI. If you're paying attention to it, progress is happening very rapidly in AI. I follow it very closely, and it is already impacting small businesses and will continue to do so, especially over the course of this year. So I will be talking about it quite a bit. So let's talk about why paid search should be part of your internet marketing strategy. And it's really ultimately very simple. You can show up very quickly. You can show up as often as possible within your budget where your customers are looking. And you can, people go to Google still when they want to find a contractor. They want to find an electrician. You do it, everybody does it. So paid ads and Google ads specifically allows you to be there when your customers are looking. And there's various types. There's the traditional Google search ads, which are a pay-per-click model. And then you have the Google guaranteed or the local service ads. It's called different things, but those are really a pay-per-lead model. And you want to go after both of them. And so, these are just some slides that are in here. I'm not going to talk about these too much. And we'll see these takeaway slides. These are really here, and I'm not going to sit here and wait for you to think about it. We'll see these dispersed throughout just for you to pause and take any notes you might want to take. So when you see this, pause and write something down. So let's talk a little bit about local service ads. These are really great because once you get through the process of getting them set up, there's not a whole lot of management that needs to be done, at least in terms of like your ads or your ad copy or any of that. You don't really need to bother with any of that stuff. What you need to do is you need to promptly answer the leads that come in and disposition them and interact with the back end of the local service ads. And you just need to drive as many reviews as you can. So local service ads is relatively simple. It's really important real estate, and it's relatively easy to do. So number one priority is get in here and then drive reviews. It's going to help you out a bunch. Okay, they generally show up at the top. They can be very competitive. So, that's why driving reviews and engaging in, and giving, showing Google that you will not ignore the leads that come in is very important to doing well there. So this should be a very, very high priority. And, just some comments here, get set up, get your budget, service area. And like I said, just disposition things. We're not going to get into the back end and go through the details of that right here. The point is, get in here and pay attention to it and do it right. Get your verified reviews, and it'll be an excellent source of leads for you. Okay. So now let's move into Google Ads, which, when people say Google Ads, it's typically a reference to Google search. Those are the oldest. You're familiar with them. Um, Everybody knows what Google Ads are. And these campaigns fail for a lot of reasons. And one that I would add that's not on the list here is that more so now, the reason more than any other that I see that these campaigns fail is that they're not spending enough budget. So Google, and this is true for all of these platforms, and some in one way or another, they've gone really heavily towards algorithms and machine learning and driving these campaigns with data. And if you don't give them enough data, it can't hone in and optimize and give you the best possible results. So if you don't spend enough budget, you're really starving the algorithm, and you actually get worse results than if you spend more. And there is no magic amount. It's different in every market. It's different in every situation. We recommend, broadly speaking, if you're going to do Google Ads, you really should commit to a minimum spend of $2,000 per month to start, minimum. And below that, we see trouble more often. Not every time, but more frequently than we'd like. And above that, you get even better results. But 2K is what we recommend. It's generally enough to get enough action happening to get results and to make further decisions from there. Okay, so setting that aside, you have to understand the Google auction process, and it's really just matching with, the user, the searcher, their intent and what they're trying to do, and making sure that, I don't know why my camera's being crazy, making sure that your ads and your the keywords you're bidding on match the ad that's shown, match the landing page that the customer is going to. And that doesn't mean you need 15,000 landing pages. It just means that you need things constructed thoughtfully and well enough that they'll work for broad sets of keywords. Now you can go crazy. You can have one ad group that's very tight on one specific service and a landing page that matches for it. There's nothing wrong with that. It's a lot more work than often is required, but it's not going to hurt you to do that. There's no downside, really. Okay, but what will hurt you, setting up only one ad group for all your services. So don't run, emergency pair with generators. That's a bad idea. And then also, when someone gets on your landing page, they clicked on your ad, they're checking you out. So you want to answer kind of those unspoken questions like, is this a legitimate company? Is this a real company? Will they do a good job taking care of me? So having things like reviews, pictures of your staff, and then also having a call to action or an offer. So give them a reason to take action. Missing any of these things will give you worse results on your campaign and can lead them to fail. Okay. Also, in the vast majority of cases, you do not want to send your Google Ads campaign traffic to your homepage. Now, there are cases where this does work, and this is something that we have tried in the past. If for whatever reason, and some people are proponents of this, I'm not one of them, but I've had them on my team. And in cases where campaigns will struggle and try different landing pages, we try changing everything else. At some point, our PPC person in charge of the campaign might say, "Hey, listen, let's just test sending it to the homepage. Maybe that'll work better. But that's not the first thing you want to do. It's not the default thing you want to do. And in most cases, it's just not going to work. So don't do that. Have a landing page, make it relevant, make it good. That's the best practice for running Google search ads. All right. So let's see what we got here for examples, and it really can range all over the place. So you won't find uh, data out there that says here's how much a lead's going to cost you, because when you're running Google search ads, every market's different. I mean, we've taken campaigns that were producing incredible results in one market and moved it to like a similar size city, similar demographics. I mean, really, everything looks exactly the same, and the new campaign didn't work at all. It was crazy. It makes no sense. Was 0 cents. So it's one of those things where you have to just do it, and then in a thoughtful and expert sort of way, manage it and make adjustments and improve it. That's how this stuff works. So you can see a cost per lead in Google Ads of $26, but it's not normative, and it can be hard to get there, but it's doable. And that's what we saw in this case. And so, if we use that cost per lead and just calculate a return on investment, and this is how you should be thinking about these things. Say your conversion rate of leads is 45%. You got 113 leads, like in the example here. That's going to give you 45 book jobs. If your average ticket, depending on the work that you do, let's say your average ticket is about $1,000. You do some emergency repairs, you do some electrical box. Why can't I think of it? Circuit breaker, replacements, upgrades, generators, all these things. There can be higher ticket jobs. Say your average is $1,000. Then at 45 jobs, you're going to pull in $45,000 in revenue. Now, at this cost per lead, your ad spend is just under $3,000, which is giving you a fixed 15x ROI. So clearly, that was $3,000 well spent, depending on your margins. But your margins typically should be good enough that that's extremely profitable. Okay, now, granted, with a higher cost per lead, those numbers won't be so high, but this is why you measure these things, so you get a sense of what your actual returns are looking like. Here's another example of many, many more leads coming in with a higher cost per lead. The cost per lead here was $65, a much more challenging market, but much higher spend in this scenario. And so in this case, here's number of leads, keep the same number conversion rate, you get 150 book jobs, and the average ticket, there's a math error here, that should be 1,000. But you get 150,000 revenue on just under 25,000 ad spend. That's a 6x ROI. Still excellent. Still should be profitable with healthy, normal margins. But you can see there's a range. But you can see here why it makes sense to spend on Google Ads. Someone's going to get those jobs. You want to get those jobs because what we're not looking at here is lifetime value, right? This is just what's the initial return on investment on that one job. But how often does it lead to repeat customers, commercial customers, additional projects? So generally these ROIs are floors and not ceilings on what you can expect. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about how to set up and structure your campaign so that you can kind of get close to these numbers. And the first thing is you really have to track conversions. So if you're not tracking these conversions, you're going to have no idea what your cost per lead is. There's just no way to know unless you're tracking it. Okay, so that's number one. Number two, we've mentioned previously, break your campaigns into smaller ad groups that are focused on services so you can really understand your cost per lead per service, right? Your cost per lead for emergency repairs or just any repairs is probably going to be lower than your cost per lead for a whole home generator, right? Different companies are going to be bidding on those. There's a much higher dollar jobs. Those leads are going to be more expensive. And if you're blending those costs into one broad cost per lead, you're not really going to have an intelligible result to deal with, right? So having focused ad groups, it doesn't just make sense from a effectiveness standpoint. It also makes sense from evaluating what your return on investment is, what your leads are costing. You have to do it this way in order for it to be intelligible. Okay? And things you should be testing. You should be testing different ads, different ad text. You can test different landing pages. We do that. Leverage ad extensions, so connect it to your Google Business Profile so that it'll show your address and things like that. All these things make a difference. Okay, so excuse me. Doing this is not a one-time thing. You're really building a system that you can iterate and improve on over time, just like we showed at the beginning. You drive leads, measure conversions, optimize results, drive more leads. These all feed into each other to give you better results over time. Okay. And so I just want to highlight, don't spend unless you're tracking conversions, because it's just impossible to get any kind of good read on it, on how it's doing. Okay. And there's different ways of doing this. You can do dynamic number swapping, which we like to do, which puts different numbers on your website so that you can see, with tracking cookies and things, you can see, did this lead come in from PPC? Did it come in from Maps? Where did this come from? You can get at that with dynamic number swapping. But if you set it up correctly on the website, in the Google Ads platform itself, it will track your conversions and things like that. So there's lots of ways you can do this. Just make sure you're doing it. Okay. And then track your KPIs, right? So what are the most important ones? Total spend. Average cost per click is useful, but is never the main metric you want to look at, because what matters is your cost per lead. And I'll give you an example. If there's a keyword that gives you a $1 cost per click, it's like, hey, that sounds great. But then it never gives you any conversions. The cost per lead is infinite. All that money was wasted, in effect. Versus, a keyword that has a cost per click of 35, well, that sounds horrible. But if every other click gives you a lead and your cost per lead is $70 and your average, ticket on those is $2,000 at a 40% margin, that's a fantastic keyword. You'll pour as much money into that as you can, right? Because it's giving you extremely profitable returns. So your cost per lead is the one that matters. And then also you can look at your return on investment, but that comes from tracking your cost per lead and then making sure that you actually follow it downstream and tie your sales back to the leads and back where they came from. Okay. So how to structure it, we already talked about this. Have thematic smaller ad groups. Make sure your landing page supports them. And that's, all of the theories aside, you want to make sure that it's set up logically. And this is the easiest and most sensible way to do it. Okay, now these are just examples of what the back end looks like. You've got ad groups, you've got keywords, you've got ads. If you've ever run Google Ads, you're familiar with this. I'm not going to go too deep into the weeds on this right now. And then, you also want to be aware of who else is running ads in your area, what they're running, right? So like if you see your competitors are talking about emergency service, or they're talking about free service calls, $49 off, be aware of the offers that your competitors are making. And, you want yours to be the best offer. You want yours to be the most compelling. I mean, you're going to show up with these other ads. Why should they click yours over your competitors? If, anything with savings generally is going to get more traction. So think about your offers, test your offers, and make sure it makes sense against what your competitors are doing. If they're offering some crazy offer out there and you're offering $10 off and no one cares, you might as well not have an offer, right? It doesn't help you. So you got to be aware of what's going on in your market. Okay. And then your landing page, it's like I mentioned earlier, it just needs to showcase credibility. Great to have pictures of your team and your trucks. Have a click to call. Just make it easy. Let them know they can trust you. They're gonna look at your page and make a pretty quick judgment. So having reviews, having real people, it's clear that you're in their area. You offer the service they're looking for. Just basic things as you think about what would make someone seem credible to you. Do those things. It's not rocket science. It's relatively straightforward how this stuff works. Okay. So if you're already running PPC, consider these things. I mean, think about, do I know what my cost per lead is? How can I find out? Are we doing conversion tracking? How are we set up? These are fair questions to ask. They should be happy to tell you these things. We certainly don't mind these questions. We want our customers to ask them. So you can read all this. I'm not going to linger here and read through all of these. Now, I'd say what makes ours different, and I'm not trying to necessarily sell our services directly, but you know, it's being aware of all these things and doing all these things and just having experience in running these sorts of campaigns for contractors and similar services. You kind of learn what works and what doesn't, and it helps you run these things effectively. But even that, you could run 1,000 campaigns. It's the 1,001st that will just run differently, and you have to adjust accordingly. So, there's no magic bullet here. All right, so we'll touch briefly on retargeting and automation. And retargeting, everyone should do. If you've ever shopped for a Target, or I'm sorry, if you ever shop for a vacuum cleaner on Target.com and then you see vacuum cleaners following you all around everywhere, that's retargeting, right? And you want to do that because your customers are generally not just shopping you, they're comparing you to others. And it certainly helps your comparison when they're thinking about who they want to hire, especially if it's not an emergency situation, especially if they're thinking about a whole home generator, they're going to talk to 3 or 4 people and get quotes. Seeing your retargeting ads on Facebook while they're thinking about it makes you look bigger, makes you look more competent, and reminds them that you're out there, right? So they might not remember the names of all the people, but they keep seeing you. It just kind of lends credibility to you. That's retargeting. Automation is making sure that you get back to people in a timely manner. I can't tell you how many times I filled out a local form and I never heard back from the company. Blows my mind. Happens all the time. It's crazy. And I don't even know if they got my email, frankly. I mean, it could be going to spam. Who knows? So you want to set it up so that when someone reaches out to you, a couple things happen. One, they get an email, right? Hey, we got your message. Here's what's going to happen next. Oh, great. They heard from me. I'm going to wait for whatever that action is, right? They know you heard them, right? And then you also internally, you should make sure that form goes to someone. Also, you can do it also with an email, so they know, hey, we got this new form in from a customer. Give them a call, right? Whatever your next step is. So setting up automations really makes a huge difference in your conversion rate because your customers are shopping. And if they don't hear from you quickly, they're going to go with who gets back to them the quickest. It's pretty standard. So use retargeting, use automation. Both of these help increase your conversion rate, right? Which is a key part of this process. And we already talked about this. Just some examples of ads. And you can get all crazy with this. I mean, if you book a call with us, you'll see a pretty extensive automation sequence. And that's because, it works and it helps. So I'm going to end it there. If you're interested in learning more about your market, we're happy to do that for you. We run a report. We look at who's running ads, what kind of ads they're running, how you're doing in search against your competitors, all these various things. No cost, but it will tell us how things are looking for you and maybe highlight some areas where we think we could help you. And if everything's doing great, we'll say everything's doing great. There's really, there's no reason to hire us. We're not going to mislead you. Nobody wins. So if that sounds interesting to you, you want to get that free report, go to electricianmarketingagency.com/apply-now, and you'll experience our retargeting sequence. I'm sorry, our marketing automation. And you can always give us a call directly if you'd like to. And that's it. I hope this was useful for you. And give us a call. Otherwise, I will see you on the next one. Thank you.